guys, my name is Miranda Lightstone. Welcome to another episode of the Suburban Driving with Miranda. This week we have the 2020 Subaru Impreza. We're here in the country. Let's check it out. So, if you guys watched last week's video on the WRX, you already know that I have a bit of a soft spot for Subaru. It's based on my history with them, even based on my history with the Impreza. So my first real vehicle was an Impreza. Sure, I had a Nissan Sentra for a couple of months. I paid my father to drive it so that I could get used to a car payment. But my first actual vehicle that I went to a dealership to buy was a base Subaru Impreza. It was an 06, 07 model. It was a manual transmission. It was supposed to be white, but I was too impatient to wait for it to come from Japan. So I ordered a gray one instead because they had one on the lot. So over the years, as I've driven different Imprezas, as they've evolved, as they've changed, I'm really curious to see how those changes have come about. And truthfully, sitting in this latest version of the Impreza, it feels so grown up. Like, my Impreza was like the teen version of this one, which I feel is more like a legacy now. You know, the interior is so nice. It drives so well, so comfortable. Now, I'm in the top Sport Tech EyeSight version. I'm going to talk a bit about EyeSight now before I get into anything else. So EyeSight is essentially a camera system. It's up here above the rearview mirror. And instead of using lasers, like a lot of cars do, to detect pedestrians, to detect cars, to detect objects, Subaru has installed a series of cameras up here in the windscreen that watch the road in front of you and around you. So it's for lane keep assist, it's for mitigated crash avoidance, it'll detect pedestrians, animals, and I think, truthfully, having been hit by a car just a couple of months ago while I was out running, I am now an advocate for all cars to have pedestrian warnings and pedestrian signals in them, free and not at an extra charge, but that's a story for another time. So EyeSight, this is the top level Impreza. So it has all the things, and this is the sedan. They have a 4-door version, so the hatchback. I've always kind of preferred the hatchback look, but the sedan, it's got a very sophisticated look to it. Again, like, I feel like I'm driving a Legacy, and the Legacy was always the flagship sedan that your parents bought. You bought the Impreza, the child, and your parents had the Legacy. But this Impreza feels like that. I really, really like I'm gonna hate myself for saying this. I really like the transmission, and it's a CVT. And I feel a little piece of my soul dropping off when I say that. But Subaru's done it right. It's difficult to do a CVT correctly. You know, over the years, I have lamented on a couple of manufacturers for having a CVT that is very droney and doesn't fake shift and doesn't make you feel like you're driving gears. And from the beginning, Subaru has managed to make their CVT drivable and not droney and not annoying. And it's paired really nicely with the 2-liter engine in this vehicle. It's just all-wheel drive, just like every other Subaru in the lineup, save for the BRZ. That's a bit of a different story. And it doesn't feel like it's lacking anything. You know, it's not a WRX, it's not an STI, but, you know, I've actually got paddle shifters here because I have the top Sport Tech version. I've got paddle shifters here on the steering wheel. I can also shift with the shifter if I would like to. I can put it in sport or intelligent mode. So sport mode increases my throttle response. It kind of makes my revs a little bit more revvy, for lack of a better term. If I put it in intelligent mode, that's like an eco mode. So it dulls the throttle. Really, you're conserving as much gas as possible. Right now, I've done a lot of back and forth to my parents' place in the country over the past couple of days. So it's a lot of wide open country roads. I am doing a lot of start and stops though. And I'm averaging about 7.5 liters per 100 kilometers right now, which isn't bad given the all-wheel drive and given that I am not light on the throttle and I do not have it in intelligent mode most of the time. I'm usually in sport mode. That's just how I roll. But I like it. You know, the steering is nice and tight. It handles well. I feel like I can corner with it really well. And if we had snow on the road, I would feel just as confident and just as safe and just as capable to corner and handle because of that asymmetrical all-wheel drive. Years ago, I was invited to test EyeSight and see how it worked, and they set up like fake screens of Subaru's that you had to drive up on and not hit the brake as you were coming up on the car, which is the most difficult thing in the world to do, to ask yourself to drive towards a wall and not hit the brakes. So what the vehicle does, it's a lot like city safety with Volvo or any other safety system that vehicles have right now, that it will tap the brakes for you or stop the car if you don't do it quickly enough. It won't keep the vehicle stopped, but it will stop it for you. It will also warn you if you're coming up too quickly on a vehicle, or if you're at a stoplight or a stop sign and the vehicle in front of you has left and you don't realize because you were changing the radio station or you're fixing your maps, or you're reaching for your drink. It will beep at you, be like, hey, the car in front of you is left, like, wake up, you need to go now. Which I kind of like that one. So if it's really heavy rain, or I've also had an eyesight system in the winter, so if you have heavy snow or there's buildup on the windscreen, the cameras don't work. So you lose that front camera, that warning system, the front crash mitigation, you lose the lane departure assist, all of that, because it can't see. Even when you have the windshield wipers going, if it is really bad weather, eyesight will not work correctly. And they'll tell you in the gauge cluster, it'll say eyesight not available, you got a big line through it, so you know you're not relying on it. But it's kind of, I mean, any of our systems in our winter, in our weather here in North America, we're not California, we don't have sunshine 99% of the time. So these systems don't work perfectly all year round. When they do work, they work very well. So when it comes to the exterior look of the 2020 Subaru Impreza, just like the WRX, I've seen it really mature over the years. And when I talked about my 06-07 Impreza while I was driving, you know, I love the way that one looked, and it really looked like a teenager to me now that I look at the new Impreza. You know, the outside is really sophisticated looking. It has the same hints and family cues as the WRX. Of course, it's not as muscular or beefy looking, but it's got a really nice angular front end. It's got a defined shoulder line. It has a very classy overall look to it, and in this really nice navy color. I quite like what Subaru's done with the Impreza. And like I said, it's really elevated it to the point where this doesn't seem like your entry-level Subaru anymore. Like, this is more like their flagship sedan, and I really like it. Now, of course, this is the Sport Tech Eyesight Edition, so it has the spoiler off the back, it's got the fog lights, it kind of has all the bells and whistles, so it does add to the exterior look of the vehicle. But all in all, it comes together, and like I said, it gives it a really nice, mature look. And again, it has plenty of room. This isn't the hatchback, this is a sedan, but just like the WRX, it has a really good sized trunk. I'm always so shocked at what I can fit inside an Impreza. And in terms of the back seat, again, my son is super comfortable. There's room for all of his stuff and his legs that are super long because he's a tall 8-year-old. It is a great looking car. So here we are inside the 2020 Subaru Impreza. Now, like I said when I was driving, compared to my Impreza that I had however many years ago, this is really upscale and luxurious. The seats are super plushy. I have all the bells and whistles here. I've got heated seats down here. As I mentioned on the drive, I have eyesight. I've got a sunroof. I mean, this is leagues above the Impreza that I had. You have everything here on the steering wheel in terms of dealing with your entertainment system, changing your sport intelligent mode, which again I spoke about on the drive. You can change up your gauge cluster and what it shows you. You've got a heated steering wheel here as well. Now, of course, this is the top trim Sport Tech Eyesight, so it has everything included. But this is a really nice, luxurious, mid-size sedan. You know, if I compare it to the Corolla or the Civic, I think the Subaru has a little bit more personality, so to speak. The Civics and the Corollas of the world kind of fall into this generic feel for me, whereas a Subaru, you get in and you realize it has a bit of a personality, and it's got some character, and it's got some things that are a little bit different than others, and just the way it's put together. I really like the Impreza interior, and in terms of seat comfort front and back, it's great. Headroom is great. Visibility is really good. They've got these neat little side windows here that take away that blind spot when you're turning. For me, I'm super close to the steering wheel, vertically challenged. I don't have a big blind spot behind me. I have really good visibility out the back despite the wing. The rear windshield is really nice and wide open. And all in all, this interior is just plush and comfortable, exactly what you'd want from your mid-size sedan. All right, guys, that's it for me. This has been the 2020 Subaru Impreza. As you can see, I think it's a great family car as well as a first-time owner's car. If If you have any questions, comments, concerns about this car, a car that I've driven in the past, or you want to see me drive something specific, make sure you hit me up at Miss Miranda L on Instagram and or Twitter, and Miranda Lightstone on Facebook.com. Thanks a lot, guys, and I'll see you next week.